What's happening? It's your boy DMA with another God of War Ragnarok no upgrade run Berserker challenge. I'm going to start things off again with how these no upgrade runs typically go. Yep, another one-hit kill. But welcome to the third video of what I'm calling the Basic Berserker Blueprints, where we have Skjothendi to deal with this time. I went through a list of Berserkers and found one that named them in order of difficulty. Skjothendi was marked as the easiest Berserker, but this dude is only accessible after you complete the story campaign, since you don't have access to the gateway in Niflheim during the story. Having Hardrefill and Freytni completed by the time I had access to Skjothendi, I see why he's marked as the easiest. He still killed me a ton of times from learning his attack patterns and timings and all of that, and I'll get into the do's and don'ts with him. But first, I will explain the rules of the no upgrade run. I've explained it in the previous two videos, so I'll keep it short and relatively sweet. No upgrades to Kratos or Freya's weapons, shields, armor, runics, relics, skills, Spartan rage, or anything that requires experience points or expands health and rage bars. There are no accessories allowed for Kratos or Freya. Winter's Bite and the Talisman of Mange are free to use since those were forced into my arsenal. Dark Odyssey armor pieces will only be worn since they have no perks or stat boosting attributes. Same thing goes for the Dark Odyssey accessories. The Dauntless shield is the weakest shield, thus will be the only shield I equipped. Resurrection stones are allowed. Basically, if anything affects stats and makes the player stronger, it doesn't have a place here, unless it's forced into my arsenal by the game. Now, the first thing I want to talk about are Skjothendi's attack. He has a 2-punch combo, a 2 energy ball sling attack, and something I call the Bifrost crawler. It's when he sends an energy blast and sends it through the ground. Kind of like right there. Like that. The 2 punches keep the energy ball sling and the crawler attacks can be blocked. The next batch of attacks are the energy blasts, which you just saw. Thank you, Skjothendi, for demoing that attack. And the ground dash attack. These can be parried. Last but not least, the unblockable attacks. There's the pounce and 2 different aerial attacks. The first aerial attack is a charged attack, and that can be knocked out by a simple attack, which is why I equipped the spear. And the other is an aerial Bifrost homing projectile. I want to zone in on the attacks that can be parried. The energy blast and the dash attack, since they're the ones that functions a little differently from the other berserkers. If you botch the time window to parry those attacks against Skjothendi, you can actually roll away and evade the follow-up attacks. Spartan Rage isn't needed to rebound from botched parries, which makes this berserker the easiest to deal with. Learning how to parry attacks will be an important skill to pick up, and by being able to survive a bad parry, Skjothendi is a great starting point for learning how to deal with berserkers. The next thing I want to focus on is the unblockable homing projectile. It starts when the berserker jumps in the air, starts floating, and sends 4 energy balls, for a lack of a better term, 4 simultaneous blasts at you. This attack may look intimidating, but it's kind of not, but still a pain to dodge. Like the pounce attack, it's about timing. If you sidestep and roll too early, the projectile will adjust its path and hit you in mid-roll. Supremely annoying way to die because your timing is based on your proximity to the berserker. I can't tell you that you need to wait a certain time when he releases the attack, because the further you are, the longer you need to wait. It's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to need some practice evading it. When Skjothendi floats in the air and charges his attack, he's wide open. A simple spear toss will knock him out of that animation, and he'll be open to other attacks. And, you know, due to proximity, I usually follow it up with my spear throws and a detonation. But interestingly, Skjothendi doesn't seem to have phases like the other Berserkers do, based on how much health they have. Hard Refill would add extra pounces, and Skjóthendi would add extra dashes. Skjothendi, from what I can tell, does not have changes in his attacks based on how much health he has. I could have used the axe throw to knock him out of the animation, but I felt the spear was easier to use. There were several occasions where I missed the axe throw and the charged attack went through by the time I summoned the axe back and tried for a second time. The spear throw it's just easier for me. Now, there is one drawback with the spear in this fight. I only use 2 commands with the spear. The spear throw and the heavy attacks. With Hard Refill and Skjóthendi, the heavy axe combo would stagger them, allowing me to complete a full 3 or 4 hit combo. The spear only has a staggering effect on the last hit. Skjothendi is very mobile and likes to jump back, and by the time I'm able to start a heavy combo with the spear, he retreats before I can get that 3rd staggering hit. It seems like the only time I'm able to get that 3rd hit in is when he pounces and decides not to immediately follow up with another attack or retreat. Not being able to lock him in during a heavy combo does make the fight a little too fluid, but throwing the spear has some advantages, like, you know, knocking Skjothendi out of that charging attack, but also peppering him in between attacks does help keep the white bar active for, you know, for bonus damage. And there you go. The 3rd Berserker has fallen. The obligatory menu rundown where I show my lack of upgrades and basic equipment, no accessories for both Kratos and Freya. I forgot to show the difficulty here, but for what it's worth, trust me, it's give me God of War. Join me next week for the 4th iteration of Basic Berserker Blueprints, where I take a stroll in Alfheim and battle Skjóthendi. We'll see you.
It was a peaceful kingdom, full of artists and poets, but it fell to ruin long ago.
And these berserkers were responsible.
Them and their accursed King Hrolf. What little blood I have still boils at the thought.
Your former home, I assume.
Let's just take this victory and move on, eh?
There is no need to shoulder this burden on your own.
Admittedly, you're shouldering the brunt of the work here. Let me worry about the emotional burden.